Yeah, very good question. The question is modesty laws, or tznius would be the word for men. Again, it's a very important point because the idea of being tsanua, being modest, being humble, is lav dafka a halacha for women. This is one of the most famous psukim in Tanakh, and I think it's on a government building in the United States. Maybe it's the National Archives or something. What does God ask of you, right, except to do justice and love kindness and walk humbly with your God? It's a very famous word. I know it's on some building in Washington, but in Hebrew it's Ma Hashem Elkecha shoel mimcha, what does Hashem ask you? Ki asais mishpat, to do justice, avas chesed, to love kindness, v'hatzneya leches im Hashem Elkecha, and to walk with humility in front of Hashem. And this is the source of the word tznius. Hatzneya leches im Hashem Elkecha. Now in that pasuk, hatzneya leches, it's not mechalek between men and women. Men and women all have to be tznius. Tznius is not about how long somebody's skirt is or how long their sleeves are. That's a manifestation I'll get to in a moment. Tznius is about an attitude of understanding. Shivisi Hashem lenegdi tamid. I am standing in the presence of Hashem all the time, even if I'm all by myself. And when I stand in the presence of Hashem, I must behave as if I am in front of a melech, kal v'chomer. If in front of a melech, basar v'dam, you behave a certain way. How does one behave in front of melech, malchei amlochim? If you look at the Ramah, the very first siman of Shulchan Aruch, the Ramah says, ein yeshiv asa adam, right? When a person sits not in front of a melech, it's not the same way he behaves in front of a melech. So it's very important to know that tznius is about attitude. Now, it happens to be that one of the ways that a person expresses tznius, there are many, many laws of women, not to dress in a sexually provocative way, not to accentuate the body. I'll get to your question in a moment. But those are, and those are important. We can give a, if at any point you'd be interested, we could talk about the laws of tznius as they apply to women, although that's not directly nogea to you, at least until you're dating or getting married or whatever it is. So here is the thing. So how does tznius apply to men? So what's interesting is that tznius, as it applies to men, does not directly refer to dress. Meaning to say, in terms of the laws of tznius, a man can wear shorts that uncover his knees, even though a woman would not be allowed to do it publicly. And the difference basically is, what can I say, maybe it's an insult to men, that is, women who dress a certain way have an effect on men. Men who dress a certain way have less of an effect on women. And therefore, consequently, the detrimental impact of lavush is going to be different from a woman to a man than it is from a man to a woman. However, just because the sexually provocative rules that apply to women don't automatically apply to men, doesn't mean the attitudinal idea of tznius should apply to men. Meaning a person has to always ask himself, am I behaving in a dignified way? Am I behaving in a respectful way? So this would mean the following. So when I'm playing basketball, maybe I could wear shorts because that's how a person behaves. But certainly when I'm davening and I'm standing in front of the melech, how should I stand? And when I'm learning Torah, and even if I'm walking in the streets, but I don't need to dress I don't need to dress in a way that's more exposing. So in that way, particularly Hilchos Tefillah, Hilchos Talmud Torah, walking in the street, it's more of a subjective idea, meaning I cannot tell you halachically this is usher and that's usher and that's usher, because the laws of tznius as they apply to men are less specific than the laws of tznius as they apply to women. But for men, you have to have the attitude, I'm standing in front of the melech. How should I behave? Now, let me point out that tznius has aspects that have nothing to do with dressing. They also refer to modesty, to humility, to not yelling or shouting in an ostentatious way. A person should try to generally talk in a generally quiet way. I don't mean a silent way necessarily, but you don't have, in fact, little examples. We do this all the time, but you don't necessarily shout to get somebody's attention. Again, it's a manifestation of tznius. You wait till you're over there, unless they're about to fall off a cliff or something, then maybe you can shout. But you don't communicate by shouting over a long distance or talking over somebody in a line. Think about it, right? There's a line of people and you're talking to somebody who's 5 people ahead. You don't talk over somebody. So it's a subjective idea, but it's the sense of behaving in a modest way and in a dignified way, and having a feeling that you're in the presence of Hashem, and therefore you want to behave in a good way. Of course, that's why we wear a kippah, right? A kippah also was not originally a chiyuv, except perhaps when you mentioned Hashem's name. But the idea of a Kabbalah or a yarmulke or a kippah, whatever you want to call it, the Gemara says was based on the notion of covering our head. So we should always have this awareness that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is above us. So really, I would identify tznius with the idea of shivisi Hashem lenegdi tamid, that I should always feel that Hashem is in front of me, because I'm in the presence of HaKadosh Baruch Hu.